Aryak is introduced with no special talent, and one day he is kicked out of hero party. Despite being kicked out, Aryak seems careless, due to which one member of the party, Harunoa Bibia, shouts at him and wants him to know the position he is in. Aryak feels grateful to Bibia for freeing him from duty. Bibia is much a hero, accepted by the Holy Sword Ranguris, and is capable of defeating the Demon Lord. There are other members who side with Bibia and consider Aryak rude to Bibia for his behavior. Delia Heroes Party. Member tries to remind Aryak that he was there because he was in the same village as them, but he is worthless enough to carry their garbage. Delia can strengthen her body and has the blessed fist skill to charge on opponents. Elga is known as the Kingdom's Shield with his enormous strength and has the defend of giant skill. Purera has magical power more than Demon Lord and has Ace Wizard skill. Alicia, who is a legendary level saint, appears. She uses recovery magic and is even capable of revival magic. She also sides with Bibia, and after getting her support, Bibia has all others with him. According to Aryak, there is no man who would want to have a saint wanting him to be kicked out. Listening to it, Alicia turns her head away and Arie can feel her hatred towards him. He does not know what he did that she did not like him since they have been together. She followed him for so long and was super shy around him, but she got quite changed. They were all together in a village Rittendi. They had known each other for a long and used their friendship to have a party. After all this scenario created, Aryak still does not the reason he is kicked out and asks them. Bibia yells at him that he is worthless without any defense and attack abilities. He has just assistance magic for exploring and antidotes that anyone can use. He is a burden to them, not able to use useful powers, and his intuitions are bad, causing them trouble. Aryak knows he has no skills and is about to give them a warning about his skills. Alicia makes him stop and asks him to leave the party as he is not suited for it. He can feel intense pressure around Alicia. Finally, he leaves them behind and starts his journey alone. He was at their party because once he had a dream about God who had requested him to be a backup for his party members until the time comes. He plans to go out to a town, Alti, and it will take him a month. He walks through the forests but gets worried about his team members. They have always counted on him when it came to inventory and other preparations, as they are not good at those things. He reaches the end of the forest and the rays of the sun strike him. He reaches out his hand towards sun. He does not want to think about them uselessly and feels good to have traveled alone. Aryak recalls his dream when a god appeared in his dream who asked him to help Bibia and others, otherwise they would die at a young age. He took advantage of Aryak's kindness. God gave him the skill backup, which is annoying to Aryak. He has actually unique skill. He can do weapon and guard strengthening, speeding and slowing down time, making recovery stronger, and other exploring skills of the dungeon. He never fought in front and worked in the shadows. Using judgment, the skill status can be seen, and when his skills were measured, his unique skill never showed up. Instead, bunch of useless skills were shown. To conceal his skills, he made his skills invisible until they reached a certain level through a concealment skill. He can do anything, but no one knows that, and it's kind of annoying to him. He is glad to have helped and protected his fellows. He thinks of himself being overprotective back then, when was kicking out, but he wants them to be on their own as the time has finally come. He listens to someone calling him for help. He is surprised to know someone can get past his magic wall. Aryak asks if he is human, but he does not reply, instead requests Aryak to eliminate him as there is a curse cast upon him. Aryak refuses him, to which he requests Aryak again to eliminate him before he loses his pride in the dragon tribe. Aryak cannot believe a pride species such as dragons would ask for help from humans. The dragon's voice seems to be in pain, but Aryak does not want to fulfill dragon's wish without knowing him. But if he asks for help, then it would be different. Being in a desperate position, he asks for help from Aryak, who agrees to help. Aryak walks toward the path where the voice had come from. A huge centipede pops up behind him, but he uses insect-repelling skills to eliminate the insects. He is not sure if he trusts the one called for help is dragon. When a dragon loses to a human, he submits himself to a human and acknowledges his strength. He assumes an evil mind behind the dragon. He reaches the front of the castle and sees the corpses of many men. There is a barrier around the palace, and Aryak considers those men thieves who were trying to get into the palace but failed due to the barrier. Soon, the corpses start to move on their foot and a man appears. Ariake takes him, a man having a necromancer's jewel, to manipulate the corpses. That man brags to get his hands on the necklace so that he won't need any thieves and would use those corpses for the fight. Ariake considers him garbage for using low-life tricks and listening to him. That man charges his zombies to charge on Ariake. That man calls himself lucky to control zombies as he likes, but Ariake calls him unlucky to be beaten up by those zombies. Ariake creates a magic circle for restoration skill and casts it on the group of zombies, who turn to dust in an instant. Seeing this trick, that man asks Ariake who he is. Ariake calls himself an ordinary person who is kicked out of a hero party and is good at carrying luggage. That man did not think a mere porter would be able to use such powerful magic. Ariake corrects him that he did not use magic, but it was restoration skill that can restore things into original forms. Zombies turn into corpses and rotten bodies turn into dust. That man has not heard about this skill, and zombies come near to the man and draw him towards themselves. Ariake explains to him the reason the ones turning into dust need something to compensate for their body. There is no other choice for him but to die, because he was the one who used Necromancer Jewel for his benefit and turned corpses into zombies. Zombies strike that man, and Ariake proceeds towards the castle, not caring about his meaningless opponents. Ariake does not know how to break the barrier without causing a great impact, and assumes there is a dungeon behind it. He uses his other skill, Metamorphose, which enables him to change his body shape. He transforms into a mole and digs the ground to get into the palace. It's common for barriers not to affect the ground. The barrier creator would have thought anyone to dig the ground around the giant gate, but not anyone could turn into a mole like him. He gets ahead and finds the inside vast and spacious. A middle-ranked adventurer would not be able to get there. There are adventurer ranks, starting from E and going to A and S. The level of rank is determined by attack power, magic power, and the level of monsters one has defeated. The majority of people lie in B rank or below. The ones at a rank can defeat Demon Lord. A small number of people are in S rank. Alicia and Bibia are in S rank, and Ariake is in C rank. Ariake finds flaws in the ranking system. They pay too much attention to attack and magical power. He is more of a backup, giving other opportunities. He should not be evaluated from that ranking. While he is into this thought, he reaches the place guarded by two monsters. They ask him if he wants to release the red one of the disaster. He is surprised to know the one who called him has guards. They charge at him suddenly, and Ariake determines their level is 60 enough to destroy the whole country. Ariake activates his atmosphere skill, which enables him to make an air-like wall that blocks their blows. Those monsters don't want to be underestimated by lowly humans and cut through the barrier. The monsters strike at him simultaneously, and Ariake blocks them. He suddenly disappears and pops up behind them and slices the head of one monster. The other monster asks him who he is and has defeated a guardian. Ariake wants them not to look down on humans as they are not superior. He asks the guardian to open the door and trigger it by calling useless doll. It infuriates monster and charges at him, but Ariake has planned it all, and they were in his hands from the beginning when he created the atmosphere wall, making them see his illusion and strike back. He compressed the enemy's blow and reflected it using damage, reflecting skill. The monster is defeated by Ariake, and he reaches the gate, and on opening it, he finds a dungeon. Dungeons are like human beings with their minds. They send monsters to intruders and try to take the bodies and magic of intruders to make them stronger. There are treasure chests as baits to lure in the intruders. The monster waits for the intruder to go for the chest. When going to the chest treasure, a monster appears and Ariake defeats him. He goes up ahead and confronts 3 great golems made up of rocks. Golems at a time is a bit much, and normally it would require an S-ranked adventurer, but for him, the adventurer ranks are meaningless. Ariake recalls his memories when he was at Hero's party. Bibia made fun of him for being in C rank. He does not have status and humanity like him. Bibia seemed to have pride in his status. Ariake inquired Bibia on what he thinks about C ranks, and he replied C-ranked ones are stronger same as villagers. They expected Ariake to faint when confronted by monsters that S-ranked fights with like Golem. Ariake might not be able to move due to the earthquake-like feeling produced when Golem walks. Presently, Ariake creates a circle on each Golem and explodes each of them. He again calls the ranking system unfair. A C-ranked one like him has defeated golems. Someone throws a key at him, and he finds a gate where the one who wanted to die can be found. He unlocks the door and gets inside. There he finds an old man congratulating him as no one has been able to get there in the past 1,000 years. He asks Aryak his name, but Aryak inquires the old man who he is, and he introduces himself as a high priest. Aryak asks him to bring out the person who called him. Priest considers the dragon a clever one to call for help from outside. It must mean the barrier has gotten weaker, but it does not matter for Priest. He has prepared an indestructible dungeon. It would have taken a lot of effort and magic for Aryak to get there. But when he sees Aryak, he is surprised that Aryak is unscathed. Aryak tells him that he barely took damage, to which Priest considers him a liar. There are several golems outside, and how come he managed to get there without getting hurt? Aryaki informs him about Golem, that they have lots of power and speed faster than giant creatures. It was pain for him to deal with them, so he defeated them all at once. Priest can't believe Aryak defeating them with all his power. Mythic informs him he did not use power, but magic amplification. Golems are extremely complex creatures with detailed magic nerves and complex magic flow, but they have weaknesses. If magic from outside is introduced in the flow of Golem's magic nerves, then the balance would be disturbed and explode. Priest is still shocked to hear Aryak's theory. According to him, Aryak should not be able to influence Golem with such a bit of magic. If the magicians of all the world were to gather, they still would not be able to defeat Golem. Priest accepts the fact Aryak is not an ordinary person and decides to make him his vessel to evolve into God and control everything. When the priest is about to tell the story of God, Aryak tries to sneak out and search for the one who called him. Priest decides to show what he is up to. He has the role of magic supplier to the god he wants to evolve into, and the item for ritual he has gathered is Jeshpant Dragon's daughter. Aryak is surprised at seeing Dragon's daughter being captive inside a crystal. The priest brags about his work as a genius who is going to use a rare dragon breed to evolve into a god and wants to be praised by Aryak. It infuriates Aryak that Priest is looking down on him as he is worthless and says to Priest that he has imprisoned a young girl for a long period. It is an unforgivable act, and he is just a lowly criminal. Priest doesn't understand being called a criminal for capturing just one dragon. Aryaki defends himself by saying he is stating the facts. It's a bad thing if he has captured a cat or dragon, and it would be hard for crazy lunatic to understand such obvious facts. These words trigger the priest that Aryak is making fun of him, and it is an act worthy of death. Saying it, he launches his blow at Aryakse, but Aryak defends himself. Priest assumes Aryak has used a barrier and is about to say more. A counterattack passes by him striking his cheeks. When the smoke clears out, he sees Aryak unscathed and unarmed. Aryak again makes fun of Priest that he wondered how strong Priest would be since he borrowed power from Dragon, but the last hit was not that strong. The priest brings out Dragon Girl outside. He threats Aryak that he came there to save her, but if he further opposes him, he will hurt her. If all the power is drawn out of her, her arms would rot out and fall off. Aryak agrees not to do anything against him, and he can prove it by nullifying his magic and skills. He activates this skill, and Priest shouts at him to prepare to die. Suddenly, the magic crystal where Dragon Girls is captured falls upon Priest and injures his arm. He does not how the crystal fell. It should be in place through magic. Aryak informs him that he has used nullifying magic skill, and it applies to everything around them, including the magic of Priest. Aryak pushes Priest aside and goes to Crystal to break it. Priest tells him he won't be able to break the crystal, but Aryak breaks it with bare hands because Priest magic has nullified and the crystal cannot be held anymore. Aryaki puts the Dragon Girl in a safe place, and Priest forbids him to do anything with his thing. Aryak captures Priest, making him stop calling her his things. He binds him through ropes and goes to Girl. He wakes her up and gets close to her to analyze her with his eye. He seems suspicious of something, but getting close to a male person. Dragon Girl gets embarrassed and gets away from him. She did not think he would come there for her help. She had nothing to give him in return. Aryaki tells her he does not need anything. When she looks at Priest, she yells at him about how he dared to lock her up for 1,000 years and even took her powers. He has to pay her back and tries to get up, but due to lack of power, she cannot move. She feels so pathetic that she has become useless, and even her powers have been taken away. Aryak asks her about the powers she has. She fills him in with her powers that one needs 4 powers to be worthy of being called a dragon. The powers are longevity, regeneration, destruction power, and sky domination. She does not know if a mere human can become a dragon. However, a dragon's royal lineage is related to God. She is the apex of the dragon clan, the youngest dragon of Dragon King. But she was the failure of a dragon. Her powers were weak and she could not become gigantic and stay in human form. She was expelled from the country because she was considered an embarrassment to royal lineage. Later, she was captured and her weak powers were taken away. She is not a dragon anymore. She begs and cries to Ariak to eliminate her. She has lost her pride as a dragon and can't afford to live more. Ariak seems ineffective of her silly wish and pecks at her head through his finger to calm her and recall the reason he agreed to come there to save her. She further says if she gets her power back, she still would be weak. Ariak decides to test something on her. He wants to try to get her powers back and free her from the curse of having weak powers. While saying it, he activates a skill circle on the ground under her feet. Dragon Girl gets shocked on listening. She is cursed. Ariak tells her that according to the analysis of his status abnormality perception and concealment cancellation, a rare curse has been put on her. If he removes her curse, she will get back her powers. He has to just do a little backup. He activates his remove curse skill and restoration skill to restore her powers, combined with another skill, speed up time to increase the restoration time. This procedure is extremely painful for her. She feels something coming out of her mouth. She falls on him and comes to her senses immediately. He was impressed and did not expect her to regain consciousness. She sees the curse, which is a small creature. It is so intricate that normal judgment would not be able to detect it. This curse is anti-dragon, which weakens the dragon's power and takes away the meaning of the dragon's life. The curse gets inside of Priest, indicating the curse prevents entering again in cursed person. She feels her powers coming back, and because of her regeneration power, she has healed quickly. She emits her power and strikes the building's roof, breaking it apart. She gets pleased to know her immense power and calls him Master. She asks him about her appearance, but he does not have an opinion, and listening to it, she gets saddened. She considers her body before powers much better, but Ariak appreciates her looks. She was beautiful when he met her and is still pretty after getting powers. He takes permission to measure her status, and she allows it. He is shocked that she has so high-level magic and attack powers. This, in her judgment, a title. A divine dragon who has gained rider appears. He cannot understand divine dragon but finds her pretty strong. She explains to him that once a dragon and rider become close and connected, the rider is known as Dragon Knight, and dragons that have befriended Dragon Knight are higher in status. It's not easy to become a divine dragon. Gods have a lot of complexity, but she does not consider herself a divine dragon just because he has become his rider. He asks her if he is the one who activated the divine thing inside her. She feels a divine aura around him. He thinks of the god he has dreamed of. He asks her the reason for him being a knight. She informs him they are fated partners. They introduce each other. She is Colette Dubrois's, Dragon's ruler's daughter. She starts walking with him, and he makes her stop following her. She cries that he is her fated dragon knight, and he should not be irresponsible by turning a blind eye to her. He asks her to go to her hometown as she has regained her powers, but she declines, saying she does not want to go where she was banished. The one who cursed her was probably from her village. They would think of her nuisance when selecting the Dragon King. If she goes back, she would still be a bother to them. Listening to it, he gives it a thought and decides to let her stick with him, but being with a pretty girl would stand out. When heading to their next destination, Colette gets furious over Hero Party kicking Ariak out, even though he gave them his support. But it's a pleasure for Ariak knowing those Hero Party guys would go on without his support anymore. Parting away from the party has become a sweet memory. Colette is interested in knowing any female friends he had at the previous party. He tells her there were 3 of them. She gets frustrated and decides not to lose to them. The scene shifts to the Hero Party members who celebrate Ariak leaving their party. Bibia affirms it from Alicia, who is standing separate from them and watching the outside scenery. She also agrees and adds that there is no meaning to a party without a hero. She seems upset despite the others celebrating the party. Bibia takes hero for himself and brags as long as he is there. There is no problem. For a warm-up, he decides to raid Cursed Cave, which they have conquered in the past. They agree that there would not be a problem this time without Ariak. Alicia says to them they are missing something this place does not have. She is missing Ariak, but says something instead of his name. Ariak and Colette arrive at Medicine Town. There is still a distance to get Alti Town, but they have camping thus far. so it would be best for them to take a rest. Colette is surprised to see the new building and town after 1,000 years. She is very cheerful in town and they stand out. She even calls him hubby. He wants her to be conspicuous. In exchange, he would go wherever she wants to. She takes him to the restaurant and she eats a lot as expected of Dragon's stomach. Ariak does not get that the food is delicious and the place must be flourishing with customers, but the restaurant is empty. The waiter informs them about the Devil's Forest that appeared near this town. The kingdom has dispatched the night course and all the businesses have stalled. He suggests they get out of there if they don't want to get involved. Colette inquires about Devil Forest from Ariak, who fills her in with the information that is a nest of monsters the Devil Lord created. The threat the Devil Forest poses is divided into 5 stages. In the early stage, if one does not defeat the boss from the inner sanction, the forest keeps growing larger and the monsters get stronger. At that stage, nearby towns are under destruction and people are still free to move around. We are in the first stage presently, where threats are controllable. Heroes will be dispatched if the worst scenario arises. To continue their journey, he wants to know a little about Devil Forest. They decide to go to the Adventurers Guild. When they arrive there, they see the place filled with heroes. The atmosphere seems unpleasant. They go to reception and he gives his name there. On listening to it, the receptionist is surprised and asks them to wait, as there is an order from King. A sturdy man, a guild leader, comes out of the room and informs Ariak that this adventurer license has been officially revoked. It is the official punishment given to criminals. Ariaki did think he would be demoted to E rank, but now he won't be able to buy ingredients, let alone accept guild requests. Instead of feeling sad about this issue, he seems pleased. The Devil Forest has appeared, and to deal with it, all manpower would be needed. He inquires to a man the king has revoked his license if the kingdom has seen through all things. The man tells Ariak that he is not needed as one who has been kicked out of the party, and currently King's Corps are on their way to Devil's Forest. If anything happens, adventurers will be enough to clean up after the fight. After the King's Corps subjugate the boss in sanction, the adventurers will begin a mop-up operation and they don't need him. The people in the guild also support the man against Ariak. Ariaki thinks about his ex-party members and wonders the reason the king has sent the King Corps instead of the hero party. When Ariak and Colette are about to go out, a knight covered in blood enters the guild and informs them that the subjugation of the Devil Forest has failed. A horde of monsters is headed to their town. Night Corps is almost beaten up. There is an official emergency summons from the kingdom to the guild to urgently prepare their defenses, and deserters will be executed. It creates uproar in guild that even knights are knocked out, and they will be sentenced to death if they run for their lives. They were informed it would be an easy mop-up operation. Ariak checks out the fallen knight and finds him alive. The Night Corps must have ended up bringing the monsters when retreating. Colette inquires him if he cannot wipe out the Devil Forest alone, and Ariak tells her he does not want to be the center of attention. The sturdy man hits the table to make the adventurer attentive and to reduce the fuss. He tells them to take action to turn up this situation. Adventurers don't want to die uselessly. Meanwhile, they are worrying about themselves. Ariak moves ahead, bringing a sack of coins to the guild leader, saying he is still there to fulfill his role and wants the leader to leave things up to him. The leader asks Ariak what he can do when a horde of monsters is on their way. Ariak learns from him that he will be paid a gold coin for the mop-up operation, which is so cheap against their lives. Ariak goes in front of the adventurers and counts their numbers. Then he throws a coin from the sack and persuades them to participate in the upcoming battle and not leave till the end. In return, each person would receive 100 gold coins. They consider it an empty promise, but he makes them believe in his words by declaring them to be a covenant under the status of the kingdom. The promises made under the status of the kingdom cannot be reneged under any circumstances. It's akin to a type of curse. The adventurers now start thinking about getting those coins and using them for their own needs. After increasing their morale, Ariak encourages them to take part as with the Kingdom Corp utterly defeated. They are the ones who can save the peaceful city where their families live. He wants them to put their lives on the line, stand up, and fight for the reward if they want to protect the town. All adventurers get fired up and begin their preparations right away. Ariak observes the guild master controlling the preparation and finds him effective. The leader comes to Ariak and gives his gratitude that his formidable speech had made others stand in line. With Ariak's C rank and revoked license, he wondered who would listen to him, but Ariak seemed like a divine back there. Colette gets enraged over leader to call Ariak useless again, and she has still not forgiven him for making fun of Ariak, who was lured by money. Ariak informs her that being lured by money is a fact. Money allows people to live their lives. Those who stand on top have to pay compensation. Sending people to their deaths with only 1 gold coin as compensation is just pretty lunatic. Colette learns from Ariak that he has saved such an amount of money from the quest. Hero Party was always involved in high-level, high-rewards quests. The leader wants to know the reason why Ariak has gone too far if he has no ties with town. Ariak pinpoints to the eatery where he had pasta. If he cannot eat there, then it would be bad for him. The leader invites him to have pasta if they return alive. When preparations are completed, the leader gives a speech that they are the last line of defense. Their simple strategy is those who can fight will move ahead, creating a defensive line, and at the rear healers and magicians will heal the wounded. The battle starts and their situation seems hopeless. Their enemy has already decimated the kingdom corps. They have no choice but to win the battle and return alive. Colette is worried about the adventurers. There are thousands of monsters, as she can tell from the tremors the horde creates, and against them, there are just 100 adventurers. They cannot defeat those monsters, and if Ariaki would help them. He makes her understand that if there is one who can handle all things without others doing anything, it leads to nothing in the long run. If one does not gain confidence after fighting, he won't be able to fight in next same situation. When the battle begins, he takes Colette to battle as it is permissible for him to help his comrades. In the fierce battle, many adventurers get injured. The leader suggests they retreat and heal themselves. Leader is reported about the situation of the left wing that 1/3 of the wing has been decimated and Negual Bothers are also heavily wounded. The situation gets worse at each group and leader also has his hands full. An ogre appears making all of them, and with the roar of the ogre, all the adventurers get immobilized. When a monster is about to hit an elf woman, Ariak appears and saves her. The leader asks him the reason why he is in the front line being a C rank. He replies he feels bad for those guys as it was his request, and he must win the battle. To increase the warriors' morale, Ariak says, they are halfway to victory. Use their own feet and rise. While saying it, he activates his skill, Mental Resistance Up. Their paralysis is undone and it lights up their bodies, neutralizing the ogre's fear. Colette also fights by inhaling air and fires a long-range fire on monsters. With the help of Ariak and Colette, the adventurers get some relief for a brief time, but the enemy's advance has not halted yet. Ariak tells the leader that exploiting the enemy's strategic level gaps with tactics is difficult, and the problem lies in the number of enemies. Ariak plans to increase the status of the adventurers up to 10-fold and lower the enemy's status to a mere 10th, and this is how the difference in number will be overturned. The leader finds it hard for Ariak to cast wide-range spells on adventurers, even on enemies. Ariak is sure he can do it and activate his skill, Full Body, which is applied to everyone within its field, but there are more than 100 adventurers. Ariak knows it, and he activates the skill, Damage Reduction, which will reduce the damage they receive from the enemies. On its activation, the leader's skin gets stiff. Ariak goes on to activate his multiple skills. He activates their movement speed and increases their accuracy of evading enemy hits, and much more, up to 20 powers ups. When the horde of monsters arrives, they fight with them, but this time they cannot believe in themselves that they can deal with the enemy this easily. Leader also can swing his sword easily. He believed one could use more than 3 skills, but Ariak has used 20 skills. Ariak tells them he has always such several skills, or even more than these. Everyone is surprised that if Ariak has been using such skills, then anyone can win the battle easily, and the hero party has been winning the battles just because of Ariak. Colette shows her anger at Hero's party that Ariak has always helped them, but they one-sidedly banished him. Ariak makes her stop that Hero Party has just decided to go on without his help, and respecting their decision, he had agreed to leave his children behind as a parent. Ariak takes himself as a parent of the Hero Party, and when talking about the Hero Party, he starts worrying about their well-being. They start fighting with monsters and see Ogre has not moved much. He must have thought not to move as his disposable monsters would deal with humans. Ariak seems the situation that Ogre-type monsters have come out at the first stage, but they are the ones who appear at the second stage or more. Colette seems to be fired up and Ariak allows her to start running toward the Ogre. Ogre moves his arm to strike her, but she grabs his hand and jumps to punch his mouth. Ariak also strengthens himself and his muscles to power up himself. He kicks the Ogre and makes him fall on the ground, but while falling, the Ogre grabs Colette and throws her on the ground. It makes her furious and she plans to use her power. Ariak also decides to show his full strength as he is her Dragon Knight. With the enhanced power, adventurers divided into left and right wings defeat most of the monsters from their sides, and now they have to reinforce the central team in Devil Forest. The only one left there is Ogre. He again shouts loudly, creating fear in everybody. Colette is fighting against Ogre, but Ariake is worried about her powers. She has got them recently and got the Divine Dragon title, but whether she can wield that power is questionable. He activates his skills on her expanding power. She can feel power dwelling in her. Even now, Rhea can feel it like he can resonate with her. A Divine Dragon borrows the power from their riders and turns it into their own power. Ariak wants her to use his power as she pleases and casts a skill, Decisive Battle, on her, and she turns into a huge god-dispensed dragon. This skill allows the person on which it is cast to use innate powers. She rises to the sky and blows fire on Ogre, which eliminates him completely from Earth, leaving no sign of his presence. Colette transforms back into a human and falls on Eric's arm. With the Ogre gone, there is no threat left to them. They see a signal coming from the central region of the forest indicating that other adventurers have moped up their area. They call it a miracle that they have won the battle, but Ariak wants them not to consider the win a coincidence. They have stood valiantly against the horde of monsters, and in unfavorable conditions. They have stood brave, and this is their efforts' result. All adventurers are pleased and return with their glorious win. Ariak and Colette are about to go on their next station. Others stop them and show their desires. The guild leader makes them stop and apologize to Ariak for being disrespectful towards him. He has decided to retract the Ariak's license revocation, and on behalf of the town, he has sent a letter of protest to the kingdom. The leader shows his gratitude and offers to treat Ariak next time with his own money. Ariak and Colette begin their journey on cattle they got from town, taking gratitude from the whole town. On the way, Colette shows the pleasure she got when she transformed into Divine Dragon and how Ariak was able to draw her power. They have a letter of introduction which would make it easy for them to stay in the next Orden town, and in order to get there, they have to pass through the fertile Great Forest, where elves live. The elves can be moody, but it depends upon the person. They are said to be a species that is hard to approach. Colette tells him not to worry. If something happens, she will burn them. Ariak does not want her to bring out burning when anything happens. Ariak gets worried about Bibia and others that they were not called upon for subjugation of Devil Forest even though they should be nearby town, but he considers himself overthinking about them and Colette gives him something to eat. He thinks if it's Bibia and others they should be fine and go on his journey. The scene shifts to Bibia, who is heavily injured and covered in blood. He cannot understand how he has ended up like this. Even though he is a hero, if it continues, they all will not remain alive. Bibia, Delia, and Elga run through some cave. Elga tries to inform Bibia that Alicia and Plara have not come back, but Bibia yells at her to focus on running if they want to get away from the monsters. A monster hits Bibia and Elga protects him through a shield. Bibia yells to him again not to be pushed away as he is supposed to be the shield of Bibia. Bibia has run out of healing potion and HP. He does not get why he deserves to be in such a situation even though he is at S rank and it should be a warm-up for him. The scene shifts to a few hours ago. Bibia and others arrive in front of Cursed Cave and Bibia decides to go up to the 50th floor for warm-up. They consider the 50th level to be suitable for C rank ones and it would be easy for them as S ranked. Alicia asks them if they finished their preparation and replenished items. Bibia seems overconfident and considers unnecessary replenishing items for the low-level dungeon. Alicia is worried for them as they don't have Ariake with them now. Bibia wants her not to worry about it and to be dramatic. Plara accuses Alicia of being stingy with her healing magic and telling them to get items. Bibia makes those girls ready to use their powers for him as they love him and are easy to control. He also wants to control Alicia. She is hard to approach, but someday she will be under his control because he is the chosen hero. He is so greedy and plans plans to defeat the Devil Lord and save the world in such a way, the kingdom will give his princess to her. After being a king, he will rule over the lowly humans. Alicia still seems worried, but she has warned them. They enter the cave, and the light Clara has lit up is dim, due to which Bibia shouts at her to do something with it. Clara apologizes and says it's her limit. Bibia cannot understand if it is her limit. He takes the example of Ariak, who was able to light up the cave easily. Alicia says regarding Ariak that there is no one other than Ariak who can do things like light up. She explains what Ariak said about dungeon, that they are like living beings with their own magic. Any magic they use is limited there. Soon, a monster hits Bibia. Elga provides a shield to Bibia, and Delia fights with it, but it does not die and strikes back. But this time, Delia punches it hard to eliminate it. They didn't understand why they were not able to defeat it in one strike, and felt the enemy's strike was much heavier. Bibia considers the limitation of fighting is narrow vision. Bibia insults her that she is being useless in such a crucial time, and she calls herself a great sorcerer. Clara can feel terror, but Bibia collects his cool back, appreciates her for her efforts, and decides to move ahead as they still can see their feet. Alicia tries to understand them. They are not used to fighting in obstructed light. They should retreat and come up again with new strategies. Bibia does not want to go back, showing their backs to enemies while retreating, which is more dangerous. He has already decided to keep moving on. Other girls accept his decision happily, but Alicia turns away from them to exit of cave. Seeing her ignoring his decision, Bibia gets enraged that from the beginning she has been defying his orders, has her mouth off, and has stayed silent. He has the ego of an S-rank adventurer. He can retreat from the C-ranked dungeon. If he retreats, not only society, but the kingdom will also be disappointed in him. They move on, and he notices they have come back on the same path and asks about it from Clara. She blames the shortage of light, and Bibia shouts they have a map as a guide. They have already come there, and even Ariak was able to guide them. Listening to the name of Ariak, Alicia starts mentioning to him again that he managed to guide them using the incomplete map by revising it all along the way. She wants them to be cautious. Having a complete map would not make a big difference from walking blindly. She puts her hand on the mark that Arakai might have left. If they go straight and take turns, there should be stairs to lead them down the floor. Bibia tells them to go on that path. Alicia asks him if he has a resolution. They are in the 25th floor hallway of their desired destination, and they are already struggling just to walk. If he is ready to drag his party and move forward. If Ariaki was there, he would advise them to retreat. Bibia asks her if she did not say about moving further. She replies she had thought of moving ahead cautiously. They will face stronger enemies ahead. Bibia considers their circumstances different and does not want her to bring about the Ariak, who is not even there, which is annoying to him. He tells her to shut up and move to the next floor. Suddenly, they feel an intimidating aura that shivers them. Girls wonder if it is a boss, but Bibia does not think it is a boss, as it is a low-level dungeon. A skeleton knight appears, but seeing it, Bibia gains confidence that a small fry is not a match for an S-rank adventurer like him and slashes Knight's head. But without a head, Knight stabs Bibia. He cannot understand why Knight is alive. It can die in one strike usually. How he was counterattacked and got a hole in his stomach. He finds it all impossible and is under intense pressure. Bibia feels excruciating pain in his body, making him unable to move. Elga hits Knight to defend Bibia, but Knight is fast and quickly gets away. Delia and others are surprised at how fast Knight assaulted Bibia and evaded Elga's hit, and wonder if Knight was always this strong. Clara does not want to believe Skeleton Knight can be this strong. He is a small fry that even 20 level ones can beat him. Knight strikes at Elga, but Elga gets pushed away. Despite being in such a situation, Bibia still yells at him to beat Knight. Elga wants Bibia to shut his mouth and asks Bibia why he is using his rude tone, even though first he himself got involved in assault, and since when he started to think he is important. While they are into it, Delia prepares her powerful fist and hits Knight, but he seems to be unscathed, which is shocking to Delia. Knight hits her back, and she flies to the end of the cave. Clara cannot understand how Delia is now in critical condition by hitting a low-rank knight, who even does not require chanting, and finds it weird to have low power. Bibia wants Clara to use her support magic on them, but she informs him she has already used defense and defense support on them. On listening to it, Bibia loses his cool and gets crazy that they have already given their best. He does not get what is happening to him. Alicia appears and heals them using her skill, Angel's Breath. She replies to Bibia in his confusion that it's all happening because Ariak is not there. Bibia asks her the reason she is bringing his name game right there in such a situation, he was the useless guy who always stood at the rear. She throws holy water on Knight, which does not eliminate him but can stop his movement. She informs them about Ariake's ability and that it was his ability that allowed their powers to excel. His skills are at a level that anyone can become an A-level adventurer. Bibia does not believe it. He considers he has gained his rank through training. She looks at him with a side eye and says even Ariake tried to explain it to him, but he did not listen to Ariake just like now. She blushes and considers them not able to understand small things like that about Ariake. She retains her cool and asks them to stand on their own as she has healed them. She has to organize formation again. Since Ariake is not there, she is not sure how well they can cover their retreat under these circumstances. They are shocked upon listening to the word retreat. Alicia wants them to get out because if they continue, only death awaits them. Bibia shows his resistance. They are already on the 15th floor. He wants Alicia to use her energy to heal them. She finds the plan of using her energy recklessly. Not any good. The amount of damage they have received is already too much and more magic power consumption will put a strain on her. Bibia wants to use magical items, but they are also limited. Clara would have to use her magic, which is she's saving up. Alicia informs them that Clara's magic has depleted. She was able to store it when Ariake used his magic restoration skill on her. Clara gets enraged and is about to punch Alicia. They listen to someone asking them to shut up. Their nagging has disturbed his sleep and a monster. Fenrir, usually present on the 99th floor, appears, but he is there surprisingly. They are shocked to see Fenrir. They do not expect him to be there. He is there because he wanted to find something to eat, but now he has seen them, it will be enough for his hunger. Bibia can also feel terror with the murdering intention of Fenrir. If they were stronger like Back, then they would have fought with Fenrir, and the option left for them now is retreat. He plans to make a sacrifice and observes his comrades. He finds all of them useful for retreat except Clara. He forcefully grabs items from her and informs them to leave her behind as she has energy depletion. It would be fine for them to run. They have enough power to call for reinforcement. Considering the desperate situation, Delia also agrees with Bibia. Bibia makes Clara understand to endure the pain and wait until help comes. He is planning to make her bait long enough to buy them time. Alicia shows disagreement with Bibia and plans to stay back. She creates a magical barrier which is still a safe option for Bibia to run away. Bibia and others run away, leaving behind Para, who tries to make them understand she is their comrade. But they don't listen and she curses them to death. Fenrir appears behind her with intimidating vibes and says he would have assassinated them instantly instead of wasting time cursing them. Alicia finds Fenrir rather composed, being a monster. She has no motivation to do anything without Ariake around her. Clara shouts at her not to talk leisurely with Monster and to do something to save her. Alicia sees her with a side eye and tells her to shut up. She makes her resolve not to die yet, and Fenrir can feel it. He asks her if it is revenge for her comrades who left her behind, or if it is her sense of duty to save the world. These things do not have value for her. She has only one desire, which is to see Ariake and be lovey-dovey with him. It makes both Clara and Fenrir speechless. Alicia is being romantic girly and blushing on imaging about Ariake. Clara cannot believe Alicia's love for a powerless person. Alicia wants her not to say bad words about her beloved person. She considers Ariake's power of unique skill to be wrong. According to her conjecture, Ariake's existence is itself unique. The story gets hilarious when Alicia asks forgiveness from Fenrir and wants him to give her time to tell a story. Fenrir does not mind it, as he also finds it interesting. She has looked into and searched every book in the subcontinent, and then she has come to a single conclusion. Ariake has skill, the god that serves next to you. They have listened to stories about hero from Granny in childhood, that when a certain hero appears, he will provide all sorts of help. According to Alicia, Ariake is more like chosen by God. In the fairy tale, God was depicted as a compassionate being who advised the hero and helped him in every possible way to save the world. Defeating the monster would not have been possible without his aid and will. From assisting with their status, using his skills, to managing items and guiding them through dungeons, the hero party was able to maintain its best position, all thanks to Ariake. The fact they have faced such drastic situations is proof of how Ariake helped them back then. Fenrir warns them their time is up, and Alicia stands firm to fight with him. She throws some magical items to Clara to use if she wants to survive, otherwise she is the one who will die first. Alicia tries to persuade Fenrir not to fight with them, but he wants to use them to abate his boredom. He has been living in the dungeon for a long time, and boredom has got him now. Fenrir roars strongly and being terrified. Clara tries to run away, taking all the items Alicia has given her. The magical barrier has broken and Fenrir can run after the Bibia and others to get them. Alicia changes her behavior and the air around her also changes. She could not careless about other members. She was using a barrier not to make them run, but not to disturb her. Fenrir gets bad feelings from her and punch her, but she blocks his hit. She asks him if he really thought he would eliminate her in one blow. She throws his leg away and gets ready to get down on business with Fenrir. Alicia swings her magical stick to Fenrir, making him fly away. Fenrir cannot believe a human like her is able to fly him away. Alicia brags about her power and that it was her weakest plunge. She could have done better with Ariake's power. She again thrashes her can to him, which he avoids, but he is confused about how she got such power in her hands. She informs him about her power and that it's the result of her tiresome training. It leaves Fenrir confused. He asks her not to pull his legs, but Alicia is being true to him. She acquired such brutal strength through hard work that made her cough blood. He does not get why she wants to have power. She starts talking about Ariake again, that he told her to get power. If she becomes strong, she will not embarrass him if she stands beside him. Fenrir says she is called Great Saintess by her comrades, but if Ariake is stronger than her, she agrees and wants to be with Ariake for the rest of her life. She gives a name to her power. The power of love results from painful struggles. Fenrir finds it amusing. He has not seen an interesting person like Ariake due to being sealed in this cave for years. It's shocking to Alicia that he is sealed and asks him about it. He tells her he was sealed and he had a goal to fight with a strong person like her and perish from the world. She does not seem to agree with Fenrir on eliminating him. Even Ariake would not like it. She makes a promise that if she wins, he will have to grant her wish. Fenrir promises back. As he is still exhausted, Fenrir does not go back on his promises. Alicia strengthens her resolve and they both fight. Their fight ends with Fenrir defeated, so he asks Alicia for her wish. If she desires a miracle drug that brings her immortality or a legendary sword or something he had swallowed in the past, she shows her wish for him to be her familiar. She knows he is cooped up there for years and has gotten bored, and she would look strong with him. He shows disagreement because a curse has been placed on him due to which he is unable to step out of this cave alive. He does not mind being familiar and apologizes to her that even if it's just for a bit, he gets to see a glimpse of the journey together with her. But Alicia is persistent and wants to have him temporarily die and be imported outside in the item box as he is cursed not to go alive. If it is within 2-3 hours, she can still resurrect him through her resurrection magic. He has not seen anyone using resurrection magic. Ariake also praised her for this. Hey! Ariake has taught her to use the magic item box, and this is the first time her skill and his idea are put together. Fenrir tells his satisfaction he got to meet her in the last hours, even if he dies now or remains alive. If she brings him back to life, he will get to see Ariake she talks about. Fenrir submits himself to Alicia and informs her that he is actually female, and she is able to transform into human form. Listening to it, Alicia seems worried about the meetup of Ariake and Fenrir, and what if Ariake finds her attractive but Alicia wants to show Ariake her familiar? She arrives back at Hero's party and informs them about her leaving the party. She is injured and won't be fighting anymore. It's a great opportunity for her to leave the party. It was difficult for her to leave being a great saintess. Her sight falls on Clara, who managed to get out of cave. Elga shows his concern. Her presence would have helped in their next quest. Bibia has gotten a letter from the kingdom. It is to confiscate the holy sword. Ranguris of Bibia and completion of a D-rank quest is a prerequisite for getting that sword back. It is the result of retreating from the dungeon. Bibia is not satisfied with the kingdom providing them with a sudden quest with its prerequisite. Clara says it's a big deal to have that sword. A hero who leaves his comrades back is not befitting for the sword. Bibia also blames Clara for leaving Alicia behind, and they get into an argument. Elga makes them stop and wants them to focus on recruiting members. They have recruited a member, Bashuta, a porter. Bibia wants to finish this quest already and have the kingdom apologize to them. When Alicia is about to go, Bibia informs his spot is always open for her to come whenever she feels right and better. Alicia gives a cheerful smile and goes far to a place where she pleases to get freedom and plans to go to the place where Ariake is. At the same time as Alicia's departure, Ariake and Colette are busy saving the medicine town from monster. Ariake does not know about the confiscation of the Holy Sword. They are at the entrance of fertile great woods, but there are some elves standing before them and prepared for fight. The elves are the protectors of the forest, and one elf affirms his name and informs him about the leader, 11 Chef. Hayes has business with him. Colette shows resistance, and in response to it, the elves start throwing arrows at Ariake and Colette. Colette inhales the air and blows fire at the elves, burning the bows. Ariake apologizes to them on behalf of Colette and wants elves to calm down and explain about current situation. But the elves are wary of him and create a Wind King barrier. If they touch it, they will be blown away. The elves want them to give up and surrender. Ariake seems to get something worse has happened to elves, and capturing him through their best skill shows how desperate they are. If he can be taken away, he won't be able to have a talk with them. The best option is to let them know they are no harm to elves, and to prove it, he takes his arm out of the barrier and gets injured. Elves stop their barrier chanting, and one of them arrives to him to ask if he is still alive. Ariake had strengthened himself through a skill. He has done this to show them he means no harm to elves, and if still see him as an enemy and disaster. A girl named Sella appears and refrains other elves from mistreating Ariake and Colette. She is Elf's tribe chief's little sister and bends before them to apologize to Ariake on behalf of her people. Other elf tries to make Sella stand and not bow lowly to humans, but she wants elf to mind her language. She introduces Ariake and Colette as great heroes who saved the town of Medicine from monsters, and there are rumors about them. She is the elf who was saved by Ariake when the adventurers had a battle with devil forest monsters. Her appearance was different, and she has been good at pretending someone else when going outside. The other elves agree to let Ariake and Colette come to their village at the request of Sella and have informed the village chief about Ariake as a walking disaster. They find the village beautiful, and Ariake sees other elves shutting their windows after seeing him. Colette observes the lake water filled with tree logs, and Sella informs her these are withered trees drifted from upstream. Sella takes them to her home and serves delicious dishes. Ariake comes to the topic and asks her about him being called Walking Disaster. Sella informs them about the withering of the forest and that many trees have started to wither in the fertile forest. She lets them see the ominous air surrounding the center of the forest. With the withering of woods, some monsters also appear from there. Ariake assumes it to be the after effects of the magical element. Sella's brother has gone through a lot of records and has come to the conclusion that Ariake is a walking disaster after being kicked out of the party. Ariake asks her if it has anything to do with the pact. A pact was initiated between the hero party and elves to protect the great forest that got holy blessing. The elves, who generally hate humans, viewed Hero positively and let hero party members roam freely in the forest. The same pact stands for the current hero, Bibia. If Ariake was chased out of hero party, he might be seen as problematic by hero and also by elves due to the pact. Sella agrees with Colette on the fact that Ariake is being chased out of the party, and disaster occurrences have happened at different times. Sella's brother's mind has clouded, and he cannot differentiate right from wrong anymore. Sella considers Ariake to be a bringer of good news and hope. She begs Ariake to help her village and save it. Sella's brother, Hayes, arrives and considers it unnecessary. She's not only brought in walking disaster, but also asked for help. With a furious mind, he puts shackles on Sella's hand and wants to confine her until she cools her head. Ariake interrupts them by breaking the shackles and wants the brother to sit down and have a little talk. Ariake has broken the handcuffs of Sella, saying she won't need them. The one whom he calls Calamity is standing right behind him. Hayes gets enraged, grabs him by the neck collar, and throws him at the table. He considers Ariake a mere filth who was banished from the hero party, and with arrogance, he entered the village. Colette gives an intimidating aura that Hayes can feel and slows down. Ariake asks her to calm down as he is fine. Hayes felt a minute ago, but he appraises Ariake as a nobody without power and gives orders to his underlings to capture Ariake and Colette. The army elves enter the room. Sella takes those two and jumps from the window. Sella is pretty skilled in evading from home. She is used to going out on adventures. While they are running on the field, Hayes arrives there and accuses Ariake of tempting his sister to run away with him. He initially decided to capture Ariake alive to learn about the cause of the withering of forests. He decides not to show any mercy and creates a barrier that is so strong rather than a barrier. The wind barrier destroys Ariake and Colette completely, leaving no trace of them behind, but suddenly both appear behind Bother. Ariake had used a skill, decoy, that creates a clone to act as a distraction, and they snuck up from behind using his skill, stealth. Ariake has the last opponent's barrier to try negotiating, but this time he thought better of it and used his decoy to get rid of the barrier. Ariake has given up on running away and decides to be put in his brother's jail. Hayes' aim was to capture him and see whether withering stops or not. It would be his chance to check it out. His way, he will be able to chat with his brother. Elves' cells are made up to reflect all magic used, and interfering with the outer world is impossible, and once he is imprisoned, according to Hayes, all calamity would be subsided. Ariake wants Hayes to use his own eye on what's happening, quit listening to rumors, and come to a conclusion. Ariake and Colette see it's a floating prison. The elven magic does not stop to impress Ariake. He gets excited to see what's inside. They see Sela is also imprisoned as she had attempted to aid them, and it would be bad publicity if she is set free alone. She is also happy to spend her life with Ariake. Colette wants to break out of prison and magic, but Ariake informs her strike won't be able to damage the prison, but it's not impossible for them to run away. The dungeon reflects the magical energy, but if he used his technique inversion to make it absorb, there is more room for loading the magic. It would be overloaded and explode. Colette wants to use this skill, but Ariake wants to wait. Everything will be resolved with time. 1 week later, Hayes and his allies observe the forest tree withered out by Malice. He wonders if capturing Ariake is a good idea. He orders his men to dispose of the rotten woods, otherwise Malice will spread out more. He does not get how it has happened, even though he has captured the calamity of Ariake. If there is a source of this malice, he would have to search it from square one all over again. In the 10 years since he became the chief, such a calamity has never happened. Rather, the forest had become richer due to a lack of logging projects. The elves gain power through nature, so they have grown stronger. But last year, the forest started to wither. He was accused of being not accepted by forests and not befitting for the Lord. He defended himself by blaming other sources of calamities and determined to find them. Then once he got to know about Hero Party banishing its members, he had met Bibia first and learned about the incompetence of Ariake, taking it as a form of revenge from the party. Ariake must have started withering the forest. It was the delusional idea of Hayes about Ariake. Sela brings the food for Colette and Ariake. Colette seems to be tired out of being waiting. Sela assures her their innocence is currently being proven. Her brother has always treated her as a child due to the age difference. He is very strict with elves' rules and loves the forest more than anyone else. She is worried over the withering of the forest and the suffering of her people. Ariake asks her not to worry. Hayes would have probably realized the illusion of calamity was of his own making. Now the illusion has gone. He can finally see the reality of the situation. The forest is truly testing him as the Lord of Elves, and that's what Ariake was waiting for. Della finds Ariake like a god descended upon them from heaven and testing them. Suddenly, they hear a terrible sound and can feel the tremor. Ariake takes it badly and considers it bad timing for something to come. Hayes calls it an emergency, and when comes back village, he reports that land sliding engulfed their village and many homes have been destroyed. The villagers are being rescued from the crumbled buildings, but there is a shortage of hands. Hayes worries about Sela if she has also been buried under the building. He orders to find her, but other villages come to him and tell him about their relative's burial. Hayes takes the blame for himself, considering the spirits of the forest are enraged at him. He is in distress and recalls what Ariake said to him about observing the situation and coming to a conclusion. He gathers his cool and wants to act as lord of the village, even if the spirits have rejected him. He orders his fellows not to abandon the villages and rescue the buried relatives. While saving a child from the crumbles, he thinks he has to save the village first, and if he can do that, he is sure a new path forward will appear. A second landslide falls on the village, and Hayes is under the area of landslide fall. He did not expect it to happen soon. Now he wants to calm down and use his strongest barrier, but other people are surrounding him, and if he uses the barrier, they will be dragged in it, and his strongest barrier is not stoppable in the first place. Hayes is about to give up, and Ariake appears asking him the reason for giving up now. Ariake uses his skills, due to which the landslide receded. The villagers call it a miracle, and everyone is glad to be saved. Hayes asks him how he was able to use his skills at a large scale and what exactly he is. Stella appears and seeing her safe, Hayes relives. She has come there with the help of Colette. Eric tells them the landslide was headed towards him, so he has saved himself, but Hayes accepts Araki has saved their village without question. Rescuing their village is now a priority, and when done, they will show him a proper gratitude. He removed the sediments. Ariake activated his skill to enhance the muscles, making those villages carry the boulders easily. He has rescued everyone in the village, and he wants others to clear the village fast. After the rescue mission, a great party is held where everyone praises the efforts of Ariake. Stella shows her gratitude and sees Ariake is already leaving. He says he is going to stand in the corner as he stands out too much. Hayes appears and tells him to return to the seat. He will be held responsible if their survivor is neglected to a corner. Eric does not mind the villagers shouting at Hayes. Hayes hits the ground hard, which makes others also attentive. Hayes tries to apologize to Ariake but cannot say it properly. Ariake understands it's very hard for elves to apologize to humans and does not want Hayes to strain, but Hayes bends to Ariake and sincerely apologizes to him, without realizing it. He blamed for village's destruction on Ariake, but he was wrong. He had put the lives of the villagers in danger. He considers himself not deserving of leader. He does not believe everyone and his sister. If only he would not have been hard-headed, his weakness would have caused this. Ariake informs him that's where he goes wrong. The landslide was caused by to accumulation of malice and the main cause of his overprotective behavior towards the forest. Stella explained to him their history related to forests that were small in number, but he enlarged their number. Coming there, Ariake also was concerned about the number of trees. In an elven forest, every tree must be properly pruned, but because of Hayes' decision, there were too many to care for. Malice spread because of sunblock, which probably caused rainfall resulting in landsliding. Hayes should know about it more than anyone else. How come he started to grow more trees? Hayes was told about it by Hero Bibia when the hero party passed through their forest. The forest was already going through several disasters, and Bibia advised him to leave the old customs of the thinning forest and grow more wood as elves get power from the forest. When Hayes followed Bibia's advice, disasters stopped and their power flourished, but it was temporary, and it was too late by the time he realized the forest was already withering. Due to his inexperience, he was sure he would be able to find a new way to move forward. Ariake comes in his father's mode and blames himself for letting it happen. If he was with Bibia, he could have avoided it. Even if they were to split, he should have given them advice. Hayes is surprised to see Ariake apologizing for Hero's party even leaving them. He thought apologies were for those who lost their pride, but Ariake still has his. It's the departure time of Ariake and Colette. Hayes decides to send the report to the kingdom. Once things have settled, they are accountable for the actions of heroes. He believes it would be best for Bibia to receive the warning. He will also mention Ariake's heroic deeds. Stella cannot stop crying. She goes to Ariake and he encourages her strong will that saved them. She will be a great leader. Meanwhile, Team Hero is recruiting new members. Alicia is traveling with her familiar Fenrir to search for Ariake. She can sense the traces of Ariake, but she also senses the presence of someone a kind of Fenrir. At the hero party, Bibia shouts at not recruiting any useful members yet. They had taken some interviews from some applicants yesterday, but they were all not powerful to get the Holy Sword. They have to conquer the D-rank quest. They need a healer in the team in place of Alicia. He advises Elga to make nice flyers with the note of recruiting only females. A porter recruiter, Bashura, appears and listens to Bibia telling Elga not to recruit men. He wonders if he really has joined the team and listening to it. Delia and Elga try to persuade him to stay at the party, otherwise they will have trouble if another member loses their team. Bibia wants him not to worry about his job. If he minds his mouth and does his work properly, he will be better than the last one. Clara enters the room with some guys following her, and she seems upset about it. The others think of them as applicants. When they see Bibia, they are surprised. Bibia seems proud of his name and reaches out to them, but instead of being inspired by him, they start making fun of him that he is the hero whose sword was taken away by the council and one who ran from the cursed cave, leaving his party behind. They consider Ariake better in comparison to Bibia. They don't why they are bringing out Ariake's name. They tell them about the battle in the town of Medicine. There is a cover story that royal knights took over the Devil Forest. The truth is, when the knights were eliminated and the adventurers had given up, Ariake arrived and led the adventurer to defeat the monsters. The boss ogre had showed up, but Ariake managed to defeat him. Bibia cannot believe them but tries to convince him, saying they were in the same battle. They had the honor to meet Auric and fight along with him. Bibia chases them away from his room. Clara asks members if they should not apologize to Auric. The situation was worse in Cave because Auric was not with them, and she recalls what Alicia talked about Auric. She is about to mention what Alicia thinks, but Bibia grabs her by the neck and throws her away, saying he won't bend to Auric and apologize to him. If she wants, she is allowed to go, but she does not have a plan to go. Bibia will get what he deserves. Someone knocks on the door, thinking the one behind is those guys. Bibia opens the gate, but there is a girl, Lorelai. She greets others and also to new member, Bashuta. She introduces herself to him as an ex-temporary member of the hero party and a cleric. She asks about Auric and Alicia, and they tell her that a lot happened and they have left the party. That is the reason they are recruiting new members. Lorelai has not just come there just to greet. She wants to apply for the healer position. Listening to her, they quickly accept her as a new member. They have gathered members for important roles, and they are prepared to set out and get Bibia's sword back. They reach the Edcock of Forest. Their goal is to subjugate wyverns that have settled in Forest Lake. Edcock of Forest provides a spawning ground for low-level monsters, which in turn provides a great farming area for adventurers. A manticore appears and charges at them. Bibia uses his normal sword to beat it and considers it an easy task as an S-rank adventurer. But the manticore does not get hit and strikes back to Bibia with its poisonous stinger. Others also get in the battle with Manticore, but they don't stand a chance against it. Lorelai gets in and fires the Manticore with her power. Lorelai seems disappointed in hero party members. Eliminating a C-rank Manticore should have been easy for Bibia and others, but they are struggling together just to defeat one monster. Bibia replies to her with false information. It's their new party, and they are taking time to settle in with new members, and others also agree with Bibia. Clara tries to sneak out, but Delia captures her. Clara is worried she would be set again as bait, so before it happens, she wants to get out of there. Lorelai and Bashuta are novice members, and they don't know about it. Lorelai asks Elja about bait, but he does not fill her with anything and makes her not worry about it. Going further, they run out of insect repellent, and Bashuta informs others about it, and that's the reason black flies were chasing them. Bibia asks him why he did not bring enough repellent. Bashuta informs Bibia he was the one who asked them not to bring more, as it would be easy for them to conquer the dungeon. Bibia still blames Bashuta for not considering the propellant amount being a porter. He mentions Auric that he did not ever run out of items. It's unbelievable for Bashuta that no porter can carry all these items and never run out of them. Bashuta appreciates Auric for being a smart poster. Lorelai also has not heard about any such porter. Since the possibility of running out of items is unavoidable, the leader and porter have to prepare carefully. The leader makes the final decision on what to bring based on the quest's difficulty and the party's strength. Lorelai considers that Auric was able not to run out of items because of Bibia's planning and asks him the reason he has failed this time. Bibia considers the current situation a result of bad luck. Lorelai believes him. She was worried there was a critical reason for their difficulties. She gives some repellents to Bibia, which she has brought for herself. It makes them glad to have those repellents. They reach the place where Wyvern is. Lorelai has to make some plan to chase the monster, but Bibia and others get up being overconfident and rush forward to monster that they must not waste time and be quick with defeating monster. Lorelai shows disagreement with their plan. She wants to take into account the adventure rule of being prepared for the unexpected. In their previous meeting, they had discussed the basic ambush. They did not look for terrain, weather, stamina, or something unexpected. They can see a wyvern presently, but there is a possibility there are more of its akin. What if it calls for its brethren when they charge at it? What's the reason they are heading out without a strategy? She adds a new rule for adventurers to reach their destination is a proper strategy. Completing a quest is not as simple as relying on own strength. Utilizing the best strategy, employing everyone's strength in charge forward. Defense and support allows for better responses. Bibia asks her if she is implying strategy is more important than their powers. She considers it common sense. They were praised for their cunning strategy until now. She reminds them of the battle against Behemoth. These monsters are weak initially, but when they are cornered, they transform into other forms and become stronger. When it had changed its form in battle, the party had used its corresponding spell right away. They were already prepared to target the new weakness. She considers it a battle of perfection, observation, and keen analysis. Later on, the hero party became known as Master Tacticians. Bashuta has also heard about it and he wanted to join the hero party right away. Bibia is confused. He does not know about any strategy. They all wanted to fight and left the support stuff to Ariak. Bibia recalls the battle when they were pushing against the behemoth. Alicia was standing with Ariake and others fought with Monster. Alicia appreciated Ariak's prediction of the monsters movement. Ariak again predicted the next moves of monsters and whom it's going to charge. Currently, Bibia does not believe the win was because of Ariak. He considers it was he who fought against Monster and got the win. Lorelai tells them that if her memory serves right, it was Ariak handling all preparations by himself, also planning the strategy and advising others throughout the battle from the moment they began, but Ariak is not there now. She asks them if Ariak leaving them is the reason they have become such a pathetic excuse for a party. They don't like to be called pathetic. Bibia cannot withstand such humiliation and shouts loudly and cries with tears falling down his cheeks. He gets crazy and others want Lorelai not to say anymore. They try to cheer him up and Clara starts laughing hilariously at Bibia. Bibia, who ends up crying while listening to Lorelai, and now he needs everyone to cheer him up. He is a useless hero. Weeping on the ground suits him, and he deserves it after abandoning her in care. Elja and Delia shout at Clara for bringing up that matter again. They make a fuss, and Bashuta gets enraged about staying with adventurers like them. He is tired of them and decides to leave them there. When he goes away, Elga and Delia run after him for not letting out the conspiracies of the hero party. Lorelai goes to Bibia and asks him to crush the monster, but he is mentally out and wants her to apologize to him. Lorelai gives up. She does not want to believe that everyone in the group is selfish. It does not deserve to be called a hero's party. Being in such a dire situation, Bibia loses his cool, and in distress, he is about to unleash his final sword to get those who have made fun of him. The final sword is one of the Bibia's ultimate moves, using his half of MV to slice through an area. It will blow out everything around him, including wyverns and them. Lorelai wants others to stop Bibia as this forest is the treasure of their kingdom and sees a wyvern flying over them. Instead of stopping Bibia, Delia and others run away from there. Lorelai does not get how it is a hero party. Hero party is imprisoned in jail and is called criminal. Bibia still does not want to accept his actions as crimes. Bibia does not understand the reason they have been locked up instead of being thanked for clearing land from wyvern. Their jail night guard informs them that Bibia's assault has wiped out just one wyvern, but in trade of forest, which is considered the source of essential resources. It was a miracle. There were not any casualties. If there were, he would be charged. Knight has also heard about abandoning his allies and wants Bibia to reflect on his punishment until he waits for punishment. Lorelai tries to prove her innocence by saying she has stopped him from going crazy. She has nothing to do with the forest destruction. If it was not for her sacrifice, the damage would have been substantial. Others also put all the blame on Bibia that they got injured trying to stop him. Knight considers the situation and holds Bibia responsible for this forest destruction. He lets others get out of prison with Bibia still inside the prison. It creates a fuss that a chancellor, Werdock, arrives to listen to it. The hero party seems to know him. He was nearby for some business. He readily commands the knight to free the hero party. He considers their capture a mistake. Knight does not agree. The party is under investigation, and at least let him hold Bibia, but Werdock glares him with intimidation and commands him to free them. Werdock wants to discuss a matter with Bibia, so invites the party to the royal capital. Meanwhile, Ariak and Colette arrive at Olden Town. A lady accidentally throws water on Ariak, and he takes it as a bad omen and worries about Bibia and others. A group of people runs over to see a person named Heinrich, and they both get swallowed by a sea of people. Ariak ends up pushing towards Heinrich sitting on a horse. Heinrich is there to give a speech and discuss his new policy to make this town beautiful. Ariak is interested in listening to his speech about keeping the town beautiful. Heinrich stands on stage and is passionate about his speech. He is proud of his loyal subjects who work hard for him. According to him, the poor people evading the tax destroy the peace of the town, and among them the beast folk are at fault. Between their brute strength and animal nature, they turn to crime easily, so the reason he is there is to protect the city from the threat they pose. He plans to clean up the slums and proclaims to crack down on all beast folks of cities. The audience also agrees with Heinrich's decision. A district chief of Segsta steps forward to present his request to assist him in dealing with thieves in that area. Heinrich shows off to his people and listens to his request people, saying he only wishes for his people to live in peace. He tells Chief about about the number of low-class beast folks his village has, and it's obvious who the thieves are. Those beast folks are having their way, and he should get rid of them by himself. The chief does not want to chase them away from their village, as the village is an industrial district and it needs their strength for many projects. Heinrich considers the assistance of beast folk a labor of criminals, so by eliminating them from village, he plans to create a city not relying on labor criminals. In the end, the chief agrees with Heinrich to remove the beast folks. Ariak has been observing the incident and has a bad feeling about it. Next, the guild master of the city appears informing Heinrich about some bad adventurers' appearance, and they have beaten up 10 adventurers this month. Someone in the crowd warns Ariak and Colette about bad adventurer. No one knows who they are, but they are extremely dangerous. Heinrich tells the crowd about the last time appearance of bad adventurers in the Temple of Purgatory and how he attempted to subdue them, but was unsuccessful, but assures them he will apprehend this time. Even if they are hiding among adventurers, he will find them and execute them. Heinrich's sight falls on Ariak, and a knight informs him about Ariak kicking out of Hero Party. It is not often for Heinrich that a former member of the party visits them. He grants Ariak and Colette the honor of a private tour with him. Ariak considers it rudeness if he refuses Heinrich. They go with Heinrich, and his men follow him, which Colette does not like. Ariak sees the sword of Heinrich and finds it impressive for a high-guarded noble to carry it. Ariak reaches his hand to the sword to check it out. Heinrich yells at him as he cannot allow a commoner to touch it. Ariak wants to ask about beast folks he has not seen in the city, and if they are the only reason for committing crimes in the city. Heinrich considers it obvious beast folks are poor and think only about crime. Why they have to be chased out of the city. Heinrich appreciates the beauty of Colette. She is beautiful as a princess, and her potential is being wasted. He advises her to leave Ariak and stand by his side. His words trigger Colette, and she wants him to keep jokes to himself. For her, Ariak is a world apart from anyone as pompous as him. Heinrich cannot understand what's good in Ariak. According to Colette, not knowing Ariak makes Heinrich a third-rate mayor. Colette provokes Heinrich, and he is about to say something. A poor person appears, and Heinrich finds him filthy. His guards beat that person. He did not know a noble was there. Colette tells him that he is going too far, but he considers it deserving to lowly humans. That man runs away from there, and Ariak uses his speed increased skill on him. Heinrich wants them to see the execution of beast folk and take them there. He has captured 2 kids who show disobedience to his orders. He has to punish them, otherwise more of them will pop out. He orders his men to end the kids. They throw stones at the kids, but Ariak uses his skill to block the rocks from hitting those kids. It infuriates Heinrich that Ariak has disobeyed him to save the filthy insurgent. He should know his place. Ariak is in serious and rage mode. He stands right next to Heinrich and says there's only one beast, and he is standing right before him. Heinrich commands his men to capture Ariak and wants to sentence him to death, but before that, he has to deal with kids first. Now, Ariak is unable to move, and Heinrich wants him to watch how he will get rid of siblings whom he tried to save desperately. Colette is about to take action, but Ariak forbids her to move as the kids don't need their help anymore. A magical barrier is created between the kids and the knight. Ariak seems to know whose power it is because this power belongs to only one girl he knows, Alicia. She steps forward and asks Heinrich about the meaning of all of this.